Sister, there's no volume.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, sister.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, I had the mic off. All right. So we were looking at what we did last class, and we said there were three attitudes of a counselor that we looked at, which is empathy, unconditional positive regard, and genuineness. Yes? Okay, what did we do next after that? The counseling process. Okay. Okay, so the counseling process involves three stages, which is exploration, understanding, and action. So in order to begin this process, what do we need to do? We have to get into the frame of reference of the counseling, right? We spoke about how you get into the frame of reference and respond from there so that they can begin to take action. All right? Okay? All right. We're going to come back to this stages of counseling in the next hour. But before we do that, we're going to look at a specific model of counseling. Okay? One of the models. There are many models, but this is a good one generally to follow. So what do you think a model is? What is a model? What is the meaning of a model? Okay, a benchmark. Not the ones that dress in pretty dresses and high heels. We're not talking about that model, okay? We're talking about like a certain template or a certain standard that you hold and then you use for maybe some kind of a process or a work, right? Okay, that's what we call as a model. So counseling has many models. We are just going to focus on this because it specifically has a couple of areas that we really want to focus on. Okay, so I'll just I'll share my screen. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Yes. Tell me.
From the previous class about
Okay.
that counseling process.
Uh,
So, like we are giving space to them explore and we are understanding. But when it comes to taking an action, so like in the case if a person comes like if she or he don't have any like view what to take action. So in this case, what would the counselor do?
Okay. So you're saying if we have explored enough and they need to move into the next stage, if they don't have an idea of taking action, what do we do? So your exploration and that stage of exploration and understanding should bring them to a place of having certain ideas or strategies to take an action. Okay? So if you remember the last time when Akhil was talking about his issue, there were certain points of time he said, it's been so long, I have waited this far, now there isn't a point. So that waiting is almost, it's ripened into some place of action. So your next question would probably be, like you would ask, okay, you've waited this long, all of this has happened. What would be one of the first things that you think you should be doing? So you're actually helping them to think about what could be the first action step. Right? So yeah, they may not, most of them come without an idea, but your questioning helps them to begin to think. Right? So they say, okay, I'm fed up, I've come to this point of my life, I need to figure out what to do. So my initial question would be, what would the first or the smallest step towards knowing what to do or the clarity towards that be? So he may say something. He may say, I think I may need to talk to my family. That's still an action. Or I may need to, speak to my pastor, or I may speak to XYZ. So that is still an action point. You're actually moving them one step ahead. It doesn't mean you may need to know all 10 steps forward, but at least the first step ahead so that you can build on that so that they can get into some place of movement. Okay? All right. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Okay, so we're going to be looking at this model of counseling. If you are following in the book, I'm on page. Sorry, I'm on page 19. Okay, page 19. So if you're looking at this model, it's called the ABCDE model. All right. Now, this model is based on three specific areas of our mind: our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior. Okay. So, our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit time on this because this is not just for counseling, it's something that we all can use in our daily, regular lives. So we need to remember that, okay, how do we decide we are going to behave a certain way? So for example, how are all of you deciding to pay attention in this class? It's a behavior, right? You're looking at me and paying attention. How do you decide that you have to pay attention in this class? What do you tell? Okay, so what is that? Yes. There is a thought that comes in your mind. Okay, I'm sitting in class now. I have to pay attention. I have to concentrate, or it's okay. Class will go on. I just have to keep my eyes open and then it'll be fine. So whatever your thoughts are will determine your action. Is that right? Yeah. You're going in the auto and you're getting very angry with the auto driver. Okay. What are your thoughts? You can tell me your true thoughts. That's not a thought. What is that? Anger, bitterness is it's a feeling, right? So what is the thought? Let's say he's cheating you of some money. What is the thought? Sorry?
You tell him upfront.
Okay, I must tell this guy something, right? I will not let him cheat me, right? I have to show him who's boss. There are many thoughts that run in your head. Is that right? Correct? No? Or only I have those thoughts? Huh? All of us have, right? Now, the way that you think or the way that you have thoughts will determine your feelings. So if you're going to think in your mind, I will show this guy. He's cheating me, I will show him. What is the feeling you will have? Okay, anger, revenge, pride. Okay? So remember, your thoughts always create a certain emotion. And this emotion gets into a behavior. So in every situation that you see around yourself, there are thoughts that are generated in your mind. They can be good thoughts, they can be neutral thoughts, they can be bad thoughts, they can be godly thoughts, they can be ungodly thoughts, but they are all coming from where? From yourself. It's not coming from outside. It's coming from within. It's not coming from the enemy. It's generating from within. So who has the power or the control of those thoughts? Are you sure? Sure. Yes. We have the power of our thoughts, and whatever we are thinking, that will correspond to your feeling, and that will correspond to your behavior. So if you look at that little diagram on your textbook, the textbook shows, right? Thoughts lead to feelings, lead to behavior, again leads to thoughts. So let's take another situation. Let's look. Give me one situation that happens. Okay. Maybe in the morning for breakfast, you got something very cold and spoilt. Okay? What are your thoughts? What are the kind of thoughts that can come? Prem? Huh? No, that's not a thought. That's a feeling. What is the thought? You
Complaining.
understand?
Complaining, sister.
Yeah, so give me an example. Did you all understand the difference between thought and feeling? Thought is something you're saying to yourself. Feeling is what is coming from within. All right? Okay, so what are thoughts? Okay, so Lucy, you said complaining. What would you say?
I would go and say that the food is spoiled.
Ah,
Can you give us the fresh food?
no, this is what you are going to do. That is your action.
Okay.
What are you thinking? I will not eat today. I don't like this food. I will not eat. Okay, that's a thought. All right, what else? How dare they give us spoiled food? Yeah, okay, then maybe I should go eat somewhere outside. Okay, this place doesn't give me any nice food. Okay, then
Even though I have paid, they are not doing giving us good food.
even though I'm paying, I don't get good food. So these are thoughts that run in your mind? Yes? Okay. Now, in each of these thoughts, what are the feelings? I am not going to eat today. What is the feeling? Huh? Refusal. Maybe it's out of anger, right? Anger, and I will show them. I show them that I'm not going to eat. Or when you say, I've paid so much of money, again, anger, right? Okay. How will you behave after these thoughts? Especially when you're saying, okay, I have paid for this and I haven't got good food. How will you behave? What would you do? Example. You will go up to Pastor Nancy and say, Pastor Nancy, what is this? What food is that? I'm just I'm just telling you that, whatever your thoughts are, that's what's going to lead you to an action. Isn't it? Or my thoughts may be, okay, maybe, it's a mistake today. The food generally is good. Today is a mistake. And so in your heart, you have peace. And you'll say, it's all right. Doesn't matter. It's a one-off. So do you recognize that what you think affects how you feel and how you behave? Is that clear? Now look at any situation in your life. Take any example. You will see that this is the mechanism that takes place in our lives. Now, what happens? When you behave a certain way, for example, now I behave and I went and told my warden, what is this? I paid so much of money, you're not giving me. Does that actually establish your thoughts more and more? Yes, it does. So what happens? It becomes like a cycle. And sometimes we're not aware of what we are thinking that leads us into this cycle. Now, this is true of whatever we do, even the kind of problems that we may be facing. So let's look back at our Susan. Remember Susan? All of us remember Susan? Okay. So in Susan, what did we say? Susan is the same example we took the first time. So in that she says, what are her thoughts? She's fed up. I have second thoughts about this marriage. My husband always never gives me privacy. These are her thoughts. What are her feelings going to be? Anger, hurt, sadness. What could her probable actions be? We don't know how she acted, but we are just supposing. What could her probable actions be? She may leave the marriage, right? She may go back and get very upset with him and have quarrels, right? She may not talk to him. So where is all the problem starting? Exactly, in your thoughts. So the situation sometimes happens, but how we deal with the situation really, how we think really shows us how we're going to deal with the situation. Is that clear? So this principle is something we must always remember. This is not for you and me, for those who you're counseling, but even for you and me. If you have behaved a certain way, ask yourself, what was I thinking when I behaved like that? All right, like maybe you and your friend are sitting together and your friend may have asked you one very simple question. Hey bro, how are you? And you will say, what's your problem? Keep quiet. So you got to think back and say, what was I thinking at that time when I said this to him? Maybe the thought is, such an irritating neighbor I have. I don't like him. And so it has come out in some way. Isn't it? Right? So what are we doing in this counseling model? More than changing a situation, it is really helping them to look back at their thoughts and look back at how those thoughts affect their behavior. So for Susan, more than fixing her husband, you are actually helping her to rethink how she thinks about a certain situation. Right? A situation may be bad, right? But it's how you and I think about it. Like, and that's what we learn so much, right? About faith. You don't have money, that's your reality. But how do you think of it? God is my provider. There is also another way, is I'm broke. I'm poor. I'm beggar. So how you think is how you will act. But if you say, okay, God's my provider, He's the one who's going to help me through all of this, you're living with hope, isn't it? So similarly, this model is based on this principle of going back to the counselees to really help them think about what they are thinking, how to renew their thoughts. Because if you help them to renew their thoughts, their actions are also going to be helpful. All right? So this is the principle we are going to look at, but we're going to look at a larger model. So what does this model do? So in short, what is it telling you is, a negative thought will give you a negative emotion, which will give you a negative behavior. But whereas a positive thought will give you a positive emotion, which will give you a positive behavior. Clear? All right? Okay. So let's go to what this ABCDE model is. All right. So in the model, the letter A is for the event, activating event or the adversity. Let's say any kind of a situation that you may be going through. It can be a divorce, it can be a lack of job, it can be difficult marriage, it can be difficult parents, it can be anything. Whatever you are presented with, your situation, basically the adversity or the event that is going to activate the rest of the things over here. All right? So A is the event. Got that? So it's like we said, it can be a crisis, it can be a personal relationship, it can be some lack of confidence, it can be a job dissatisfaction, it can be absolutely anything. Okay? All right. Now that event leads you to bring about what we say as B, which is the belief about a certain event. The belief about the event. Now the B is also actually the thoughts that you have in reaction to a certain event. Okay? So let's say your marks came. All right? Your marks have been put up by Jean. So that's the event. Yeah? And when you look at your marks, how much should we give you?
Full
How much
marks.
should I give? Huh? Full marks. Oh, yo. That's too much. Okay. All right. So I will say 50 marks. Okay. You get 50 out of 100 marks. So there is a certain, when you see 50 out of 100 on the board against your name, what is a thought that comes in your mind? Sorry? Okay, I am an average student. Okay, that's a thought. Then anything else? I could have done better. I deserve better. Sorry, Lucy, what did you say?
To know the wrong things which have done wrong.
Okay, I have done many things wrong. Okay. So all these thoughts that you all have come with comes because of a certain belief in your mind. Right? So when you see like a 50 marks, you say, you, I'm average. I've always been average, even now I'm average. Right? Or you say, 50 marks. I've always got 80 and 90. I'm definitely, I deserve much more. What have this teacher done? Right? So it all comes from a certain belief that you have about yourself in a certain situation. And these beliefs are all thoughts. Right? Did you get me? Okay, so an event creates this thought and that becomes your reaction. So these are the belief that you have of a certain event. So my belief is I'm always average. From the time in second standard only, I've always got 50 marks. Even now, while I'm 25 again, I'm only getting 50. I'm always average. Nothing good will come out of me. It's a belief. You got that? Clear, everybody? All right. Now, this belief leads to what we call as a emotional consequence. So depending on what you are believing, it affects your emotions. So if I'm going to believe that I'm an average student, what is the result emotionally? Huh? Indifferent. It's okay, this is how I am. I got this. You're indifferent, right? Good. Let's suppose you say, hey, I deserve better. Maybe it is motivation, or maybe it is like if you're saying I deserve better, how dare my teacher gives me only 50. It's probably coming with a rage or a wrath, right? That I'm going to do something. I'll figure that out somewhere. Correct? Right? Got that? So the event leads to a certain belief, and that's what leads to a certain emotion. Got that? Okay. Now, what happens is this APC part of it is what plays in each one of us. And sometimes we are not aware that the beliefs are what that actually causes us problems. And so this model talks about how the D and the E comes through counseling. That's what you are attempting to do. So you find out what the event is, you find out what their beliefs are, what their emotions are, and that's when you come in to help and support where you are D, where you are disputing those beliefs. What does disputing mean? Questioning.
Questioning.
Yeah, you are actually going back and checking back on the B's, the beliefs that are there, and asking them, is that a rational belief? Like you said, I'm a very average student. How did you come to think of that? It's because probably in your life you've always got 40%, 50%. And so it's become like that's how it is. But is that rational? You know the meaning of rational? Rational means, is it logical? Does it mean that because I got 50% marks in 10th standard, I will get it in 12th, I will get it in degree, I will get it in master's? Does it mean that? No, it's not a logical thought, but it becomes like a belief that settles inside of you. And you operate from that belief. So what is this D? What does it do? You are disputing or you are questioning that belief. So through counseling, what you're doing is, okay, you've always believed that you're average. What's made you believe that? Okay? And then I'm going to begin to dispute it. One great way of disputing is God's word. What does God tell you? Does God call you average? Or does God call you mediocre? What does God call you? Excellent, right? Abundant, conqueror, triumphant. So what are you doing? You are disputing or questioning the original belief. So that's what dispute means. Dispute means to fight something or to come against something that probably is originally that you're thinking, but is not functional, that is not helping you. So you go back and dispute and challenge those irrational beliefs. Clear? So now that happens over conversations where you're helping a counselee to really think about those beliefs and come to a place of changing, reforming, renewing those beliefs. So when I begin to believe that I'm not average, that God's favor is upon me, that I'm excellent, I'm a conqueror, what happens with E? There is effective new beliefs replace the irrational ones. That is, there is a new belief that comes. They are effective new beliefs that replace those ones in B. So I begin to operate from those new beliefs. Is that clear? Are you all clear with D and D? Does anyone need an explanation? Got that? Okay. So this model actually helps counselees to focus goals in a very structured and a systematic way. And it's important that your counselee begins to see this thought pattern, this irrational, false, faulty thought pattern, and begin to bring about a change. Okay, let's look at an example. Okay, let's look at an example. So this is an example of this is an example of a parent. Okay, this is a mother where her son is coming home late. All right. So what is the activating event? Her son returns home and goes to the room without speaking to her. All right. That's the event. Got that? All right. Now, what happens to the B? What is the B? There is a certain belief. The belief is the attitude or the opinion or the expectation. What is the belief in the mother's mind? My son is always rude. So that's the thought. That's the belief about her son. So because that belief is there, what is the thought that comes about? He is ungrateful and he's discourteous. Because the mother has that belief, my son is always so rude. Whenever he comes late, the thought is, my son is ungrateful and discourteous. So what's the feeling that comes about? Anger. Now look at the consequence that happens. What is the consequence? She has an argument with her son. Is that right? Okay, C1. It is the argument is there with her son, and that argument leads both are angry, both withdraw, and the relationship is damaged. That's the problem right now. You got that? A, B, C1 to E1. Now, what are you going to do? You are going to dispute D. You're going to stop and dispute that and ask yourself some questions, which are, am I jumping to conclusions? Is there a possible alternative explanation? Rather than saying my son is rude, can there be a possible explanation? So when the mother is thinking, maybe my son may not always be rude. There may be some reason why he's come to the room without talking to me. So what happens? When you've changed that thought, C2 happens. What is C2? She goes to the son's room and has a friendly talk with him. Maybe asks him, hey son, you came in late. What happened? What's going on? And then what happens? The E, the effect is that both have a better relationship. There's confidence and trust, and both are happy. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, let's look at another example. Now, why am I doing this? Is because this is part of an assignment for you.
Sister,
Yeah?
in the B stage, At that stage only, if we are having about a C2 thought in our
Yeah.
mind.
That's when there is no problem, right?
Okay,
Isn't
sister.
it? So
Yes.
it all matters that our beliefs are generally maybe quite wrong and irrational. So at that stage only, if you had that, the belief would be different. Okay, I need to check with my son what's going on. So then you may have, I shouldn't jump to conclusions. Let me go have a talk with him. So that's when that C2 and E will happen.
Okay,
Got it?
sister.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm giving you all many examples because this is an assignment where you will have to take a real life example for yourself and do this exercise. She came to Diksha for counseling. Yeah, so I'm saying that, see, every time something like this happens, you need to get back and think and say, okay, what do I think about my son that makes me always think that he's ungrateful and disrespectful? So maybe I should do something else. I should move away from this attitude. I should be a little bit more open, maybe go and talk to him and see what the problem is. Okay? All right. So let's look at one more example. Now, this is a workplace problem. All right. So here, the activating event or the situation here is you have to give a presentation to a board of directors. All right. So what is actually the thought process that's going on when this person already has this assignment? He's saying, look at the A column. Okay, it says, I will give a poor presentation to the board. I might lose my job, then I would have to sell my apartment. So do you see what kind of the belief that he is going to do a poor presentation has led him to think that he loses job and then he will have to sell his apartment? How far he's gone? Do you see that? Yeah? Okay. So what is the belief, the self-defeating belief that's there in this person? I must give a good presentation, otherwise the outcome is going to be awful. That is the belief. If I don't do well, then my life is in ruins. Okay? And you see what that consequences. There is anxiety, there's difficulty in concentrating on work, and then there is no sleeping well. All right? So this is where we are. So now we're going to look at how you can help the person to think of realistic thoughts. So you're disputing those beliefs in B and you're getting into more realistic thoughts. So there are some logical thoughts. The thoughts are, just because I gave a bad presentation, how will it be that how does it logically follow that I must give a good presentation? Why is it that always I must give a good presentation? Right? So there he's logically thinking. I mean, is it something I must always give a good presentation, or may I not? May I fail? So he's helping himself to think. Or am I being realistic? If I don't give a good presentation, will the outcome really be awful? So he's actually questioning that belief. All because I've done a good presentation, is it going to be awful? No. Maybe I'll get 2-3 feedback and then it'll be okay. Right? So this is disputing. He's questioning his own belief. And so what happens? What is the approach to the problem? Although it's strongly preferable to give a good presentation, I don't have to. He's come up with a new understanding. Or there is no evidence that I will get what I want, even if it is preferable and desirable. Right? Again, a different kind of thought process. Or if I continue holding on to this belief, I will remain very anxious and I'm going to be even more likely to give a poor presentation. Right? So these are some of the ways that this person has changed the way that they have thought about this very aspect of it. Okay? Clear? So what I'd like you all to do, which I will put up on the in the classroom, is an example of this process of A, B, C, D, E for you. So think of any situation in your own life, any event. where you are holding on to some wrong belief, and which becomes consequentially very, very difficult for you. And what will you do to dispute some of those beliefs? You can use things from scripture, or you can use other thought processes to help, so that you can come up to a better consequence. No. So follow the ABCD model like this one. Follow this. Okay? So if you want, you can take a screenshot of this. Or I'll put this up also on the classroom so that you all can see it. Okay? So basically, describe what you can use the same chart, but maybe down, give a little bit more of explanation of how what is your event, what is the belief. I'd like the explanation of the B and the D. How are you disputing those beliefs? All right? And then what is the consequence that you see as a result? Classroom. Okay? You can write it and then scan it. That also you can do. Because I'm going to mark here, so it'll be, this is a marked assignment, okay? All right? Now this is something I want you all to begin to start applying in your own lives, because this is extremely useful for you to know what kind of thoughts actually lead you into negative behavior or situations. But when you renew your mind, renew your thinking, you will begin to see that you will live a lot more effectual, happier, confident life. Clear? I'll tell you. I'll give you enough time, don't worry. Okay? All right, yeah. Yes, you'll have to write both. You'll have to, because you're looking at what your wrong belief, what is the consequence of those wrong beliefs, and when you dispute that belief, what happens as a consequence. Yeah, you will have to write both. So make it more personal. Don't write something that is not personal. Okay? Which means something that you're maybe dealing with. Yes.
Which is of a past one?
It can be something of your past. It can be something of your past. Something that you have overcome, or something that you want to overcome now. Do that as a challenge, because it'll help you to think about how you can move forward.
Thank you, sister.
Huh. Yeah. It'll come only to me. No one else is going to see it. Only I will see it. Okay? None of them have, you don't have access to their material, do you? Oh, so yeah, it's only to me. And I keep it confidential for sure. All right? No, it's your life. It's something that in your life that you're going to use this model for yourself. Okay? Something that you are battling with. Use that as an exercise to learn how this happens. Because, see, in counseling, unless and until you have gone through something yourself, you're not going to be able to help anybody. Until you know what it means to renew your thoughts in a certain situation, you're not going to be of help to anyone. So this is a very important awareness exercise for you. Okay? Done? Okay. Any questions?
Sister, we have to write this and send you a copy.
I will put the details on the Google Classroom, Gertrude. So
No, the assignment you're giving us now, sister, that
Yeah.
we have to write this and we have to send it to you.
In the classroom, yes.
Okay.
In Google Classroom, you could either type it out or, whichever way to communicate to me. But then if you find it hard to type or you find it hard to draw all of this, You can do it in pen and paper. Just scan it and put it on the Google Classroom.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Okay. I hope I have, just trying to see if there's anyone else, any question here. No. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So that's exactly what this model is about. Your thoughts can keep coming like, it can come like a river. But when you are aware that you are thinking of something that isn't helpful, not rational, not godly, and that's when you build that awareness is when you will only change. Others, you'll think, oh, these thoughts are coming, these are not my thoughts. That's not true. These are your thoughts. The enemy uses your thoughts. He doesn't put thoughts into your head. Right? They're generated because of your experience and things like that. He uses those thoughts and brings about deceptive lies to you. Okay?
Sister, we have to do it now or later?
Later. Not, you'll have time, enough of time to do it. Okay? Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm. Yeah. It uh, uh, uh. Okay, so I think that matters where you are having that complacent. Okay, so Biju's question was, if you are complacent in every area of our lives, will it solve all our problems? So, okay, what does complacency do? So there are some times we may need to just not fight some of these battles. Like let's say this food kind of a thing. What am I going to gain from it? I may not gain anything much. So I might as well just avoid the confront, just avoid it. But if it happens every day, maybe I should bring it up to someone's notice, right? Okay. Now let's say this has something more to do with our lives. And I say, okay, I failed in my paper. I'm average, doesn't matter. So if I do a chalega, what happens? I'm not diligent, I'm not productive. Exactly. Right? So it's okay. If there's a problem, it's okay. Just let it be, let it be. And so what happens? We're sitting on something that actually should be worked on. We're not taking any action. So when I'm going to think, if I'm going to move from that place of, okay, it doesn't make a difference, this is what's going to happen every day, the consequence of it would come much later. But if I'm going to say, okay, this marriage is something God has put me in, I should be a good steward of what God has put me in. And so if something's not working, what can I do towards it? So when you think like that, you probably go seek your help of your pastor or a counselor, or maybe you go back and talk to your spouse. That changes there. Got that? Clear? Okay, so I'm looking forward to this assignment from you. Okay? I know when students put their heart and soul into assignments, because it's something about your own life. And all right? Okay. If there are no questions, we can move on to our next chapter. Okay, so shall we move? So in our next chapter, we're going to be talking about those 3 stages we spoke about, right? The different stages in counseling. So what is the stages in counseling? What are the 3 stages? Huh? 3 stages. That is not stage. That is the attitude of a counselor. Stages is exploration, understanding, and action. Okay. Now I just want to just show you a diagram that will. Oh, I got off the. Sorry, let me. Okay, so we're going to look at the stages of counseling. So when we're going to work through this, uh, we need to see that there are, what does this chart show you? Okay, this chart is going to show you the various stages that both the counselor and the counselee will pass through during the counseling process. Okay, it actually shows the relationship between the attitudes. What are the attitudes? We learned those three attitudes, right? Empathy, unconditional positive regard, and genuineness. It shows the relationship between the attitudes and the skills of the counselor and the learning process of the counselor. So there are three things that we're going to be following side by side. Okay, so with the attitudes of the counselor as a basic foundation, we're going to see how the skills of the counselor will help the counselee go through a certain learning process. Should I say it again? Yeah? Okay. So with the attitudes as the base, what attitude? I must show empathy, I must show non-judgmental attitude, I must show genuineness. In that, when I show that in this relationship, I am leading the counselee through a process of learning, which is that learning, exploration, understanding, and action. But as I'm doing that, I, as a counselor, I'm also using some skills, which we're going to learn after this entire thing. Okay? But this is all put together on this one slide. And because you'll have done only part by part, it may be hard to understand, but when we do it all, it'll all fall in place. But all that I'm trying to help you see is when I have a certain attitude, a certain relationship I'm building with my counselee, I'm helping my counselee to move from that stage of the problem, to explore the problem, to understand the problem and move into action by some skills I'm going to use. So all of this is important. Okay. So if I take you through this chart, so the first skill that I will need to use as a counselor is to attend to them. Okay. Right now, we're not doing the counseling skills. We will do after that, after the learning process or the stages in counseling. It's going to come much later. Okay. But if I need to attend to my counselor, for counselee, for them to get involved. Like, for example, Vimal comes to me to talk to me. How can I attend to him? I'll say, hi, Vimal, please take your seat. How are you? Am I attending to him? Or if I say, tell me, what's your problem? Is that attending? So if I don't attend, what will happen? He will not get involved. He will say, Ayo, I don't want to ever meet this counselor. So you get that? So when I am in a place, attending is a skill, which again, like I said, we will learn later. But when I attend well, he will get involved. He will come with an openness to the counseling session. All right? Okay, we will move through the rest of this when we come back in the next class. Okay? You can go have your tea and come back.